So transimpedance amplifiers, charge amplifiers or instrumentation amplifiers, all of them essentially consist of op amps. In case of transimpedance and charge amplifiers, these op amps, basically their input and output impedances are essentially, the equivalent input and output impedances are essentially impedances, not resistances. And that too, that impedance is capacitance. So the net impedance is of capacitance nature. So when you have in these two amplifiers, the effective impedance at the input and output is of capacitance type. Now, what are the sources of noise in them? What type of noise is being generated and how to minimize this kind of a noise is our concern. Now, in the previous class, we saw about the simple op amps where basically the current source at the input terminal, the noise current source at the input terminal is arising out of the offset current, which in turn is arising out of the offset voltage. So our offset voltage and offset currents were sources of different types of noises, whether it is short noise or Johnson's noise. So any type of this noise, whether thermal or short, the basic sources were for the fluctuation or the noise signals which are produced were input offset current and input offset voltage. Now, whenever in all your transimpedance amplifiers or charge amplifiers or your instrumentation amplifiers, you are going to have op amp as a component. So when you have op amp as a component, as the major component rather, the DC offset and offset voltage and current are going to be essentially there. So again, same two components are going to be there for noise generation. Along with them, in transimpedance amplifier and in charge amplifiers, you have additional capacitance connected, which is giving the effective impedance as capacitance. So because of this capacitance, there is another noise generation happening. So now how much noise is going to be generated out of these components, we will see. So the equivalent circuit for a transimpedance amplifier, when considering its noise sources, is shown here. There is an op amp, and at the inverting terminal, you have a noise source En, which is due to the DC offset voltage, and there is a noise current source In due to the DC offset current at the inverting terminal, and non-inverting terminal is grounded. And there is a source connected, source resistance. Due to that, essentially there is a source voltage which is there, ETS, which is going to be again generating some noise, contributing to the noise. So ETS, En, In are the three noise generators at the input terminal, that is at the inverting terminal of the transimpedance amplifier. And at the output, because it is a transimpedance amplifier, there is a capacitance C connected in parallel to the feedback resistance R. Our feedback resistance R2, which is equal to R in this case. So this is going to give rise to another noise source ET. The drop across this is going to fluctuate with the variation in the temperature as well as the voltage sources. So this is going to generate another or behave like a noise source. So you have basically due to source resistance, ETS is the noise source at the source resistance end, and IN and EN at the inverting terminal end are the noise current and noise voltage sources, and ET at the output end due to the capacitance which is connected in the feedback path and the resistance R. This is nothing but the feedback resistance for the voltage feedback. So these are the noise sources which are going to be there. Now due to these four noise sources at the transimpedance amplifier terminals, what is going to be the output noise generated? So the output noise generated, any noise generated, basically the RMS values are considered. Root mean square value, or the square values are always taken. And I have explained why the average values are not considered, because on both the sides they will be there, so they may cancel out and you may not get the effective noise value. So because of that, the RMS values of the noises are always taken. So the squared value of the total noise generated at the output of the transimpedance amplifier is equal to 1 plus R by RS. R is the feedback resistance and RS is the input resistance. 1 plus, because essentially this is applied between these two, because this is grounded. No other source is there. This is also grounded. So what is applied here is between these two terminals. So this is in the non-inverting mode. So the gain in the non-inverting mode is considered. It is applied between these two, EN. So EN square, this is the plus ETS. ETS is applied exclusively at the inverting terminal. So because of that, R by RS, the inverting gain, and because it is square, the minus term is cancelled out. So whatever is the voltage available, that square into the square of the resistor values. Plus ET is the gain due to the resistance, the feedback resistance, the voltage feedback resistance R. So because of that, you have ET, the voltage, plus the current, the noise current IN, which is applied at the inverting terminal, which we have seen how the gain is becoming equal to IN square into R square. Here at this point, the voltage R is the feedback resistance. So IN square into R square gives me the total voltage square. So this is the total noise voltage produced due to these four sources. Similarly, what is the noise current produced at the input terminals? IN is the noise current and I is at the input terminals. Because of that, EN square divided by R square, that is the feedback gain. So divided by that gives me the resistance, the current. So the current is equal to voltage divided by resistance. And which resistance we are considering? R resistance, because this is in the feedback path. So the part of this is being fed here. So whatever voltage is available here, assuming this is an ideal op-amp, ideal transimpedance amplifier, essentially the current flows in this, not into the device. So because of that, the voltage available here divided by the resistance gives me the current here. Because of that, at the input terminal, the current is nothing but whatever voltage is coming in from the output end divided by the resistance of that path gives me the current, which is equal to, what is the parallel resistance? This is also grounded. This is the other terminal is also grounded. So 1 by R plus 1 by RS. RS is the input resistance, R is the feedback. So the effective resistance is parallel resistance. 1 by R plus 1 by RS, the square, into the voltage square. This gives me the current. So EN square, the voltage available here, divided by the total resistance square gives me the current. That is nothing but the parallel resistance of R and RS. Plus ITS square, the same thing. ET square is there. So ETS square is there, ITS square. ET square the corresponding current is IT. Plus IN square into R square is the voltage square divided by the resistance square. That gives me the current, noise current at the input terminal. So this gives me the total noise current at the input terminal. Similarly, now in charge amplifiers also, the circuit remains same. Only thing, the effect of capacitance at the input terminal and the output terminal, it changes. The way it is put, the effective impedance is put changes because of the values of the capacitors. Here, in the transimpedance, this is C value is of more importance. In case of charge amplifiers, at the input terminal, whatever capacitance you have connected to sense the current through the sensor. Here you will have connected the sensor and that comes here as the charge across the capacitor, and this charge across the capacitor gets converted to voltage, and this voltage now is given to the capacitor again here at the input terminal, and final output voltage will be available with a certain gain. So the effective impedance here also is capacitive. At the input and output terminals is capacitive. So charge amplifiers have the same equivalent circuit as transimpedance amplifiers, but have a different relative value of resistors and capacitors. Because our aim here in charge amplifier is to collect the charges proportional to the current which is sensed by the sensor and then amplify them or convert those charges to the voltage. This in turn is amplified by these two. In this process, because of these capacitors, the impedance becomes effectively capacitive. So this improves the input impedance, which takes care of low frequency components, or the sensor, if it is sensing in the low frequency region, those things also can be sensed effectively and amplified through this combination. So the values here R and C, they are equal to R0 and C0. They are specifically designed for specific applications so that the transfer impedance is capacitive. So these two are designed in such a way that the effective impedance is capacitive, which helps in sensing the low frequency components properly, which improves the accuracy level of the charge amplifiers. Same equations here also. What we have seen, the same noise sources, ITS, IN, same noise sources, what we saw in the earlier case. Only thing, the net impedance is now Z0, which is parallel combination of R0 and C0, which are connected in the feedback path. So if you add them here, instead of in the earlier case we took R by RS, but here it is impedance Z0 and ZS are the impedances. Z0 is the effective impedance of this R0 and C0, and ZS is the effective impedance of RS and CS. So in the previous case you had 1 plus R by RS. Here it is 1 plus Z0 by ZS. That is the only change. Because here we are using impedances, it is very much dependent on the frequency. Because here it is completely capacitive at both the input and output terminals, the total impedance, the input impedance as well as output impedance. So it is going to be dependent on the frequency. Now, how the frequency component variation happens is like this. The noise signals which are nearly equal to C0 plus CS, because these two are connected in, see here you can see parallel. This is between this point and ground, and this is also effectively the other terminal is between this point and ground. So because of this, they are connected in parallel. So you have the parallel combination. And assuming that the difference gain AD is very, very high, these equations are derived. Here you can see the effective impedance Z0 is equal to R naught divided by 1 plus j omega R naught C naught. Here R naught C naught and R naught divided by 1 plus j omega naught C naught. So it is dependent on the frequency. So the noise frequency and the operating frequency, on both it is dependent. Now whenever we come across these frequency variations, we always have this frequency response and high frequency, higher cutoff and lower cutoff frequencies. So FH and FL. How the behavior is going to be for FH and FL is given here. So this kind of a behavior gives us that these are going to be dependent on the frequency components, and whenever you are making use of certain frequency components, these values have to be properly adjusted. R0 and C0 values, if you adjust properly, then whichever frequency range you want, you can get the response. So R0 and C0, anywhere whenever you come across this, the cutoff frequencies are decided by the time constant R0, C0 or RC. So on that, your FH and FL are dependent. So you can adjust these R0 and C0 values properly depending upon what is the noise frequency coming in here. And for the noise frequency calculation, we have already seen 4 kT B into R0 is the total noise voltage or the signal generated, and where B is the bandwidth of the signal. Once you know the bandwidth, calculate the bandwidth first, in which band the noise is generated. On the basis of that, you can calculate the noise voltages using this formula 4 kT into B into R0. And by varying appropriately this R0 value, and also with the C0 value, you can change the total impedance as well as the noise signal which is being generated. That is, En which is being generated can be modified depending upon the frequency ranges and the capacitance values. So this is regarding the noise in transimpedance amplifiers and charge amplifiers.